B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach, shiur Torah, bruchim habayim. Thank you very much for coming. Tzkei mitzvot. Ashreichem Yisrael that are coming to learn Torah instead of all the nonsense that people are doing on what they call the New Year of the Goyim. They're celebrating Jesus' birthday today. So Jews want Hashem to give them a salvation by celebrating Avodah Zarah. Things like this boil my blood because it's simply shows us how far we are from where we need to be. But Be'ezrat Hashem, this shiur will be watched by many, shared by many, and we can wake up because HaKadosh Baruch Hu apparently noticed that every one of our shiurim, there's only a few thousand people that are watching them. And with Baruch Hashem, many more Jews in the world, if only a few thousand Jews watch every shiur, it's going to take us 1,000,000 years to get Am Yisrael to do Teshuva. So he looked at some of the other rabbis, so he sees that there's not many that are teaching Emet. And unfortunately, many people that are watching shiur Torah today are getting worse instead of getting better. You go to all these big organizations, they have big events with big speakers, and many times that you hear the speaker, if you know Torah, you're confused. If you don't know Torah, you're happy. Why? Because this guy just told you you can make every sin you want. Everything's okay. Just in a different language. And the reality is, Rabotai, this is happening. It's happening all over the place. Religious Jews are confused, and the non-religious Jews are simply empty. They have no idea what's going on, and they think that they're going to be able to fight the Goyim with guns. Kochi v'otzem yadi. My hand, my power. That's what got me to where I need to be, is what people think. This is exactly the opposite of what we're supposed to be doing. Now, why are we at such a situation? Ignorance. We're an ignorant generation. The good news is that to find the truth is not too difficult. You just simply have to look for it. As HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised B'Sefer Dvarim in the book of Deuteronomy, that before the end of days, before the war of Gog and Magog, everyone is going to be getting a chance. If you look for me, you will find me. But only if you look for me with all of your heart and all of your soul. That's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is pretty much telling us today. Now, since He loves us dearly, and He knows that not all of us are looking hard enough. Why? Because this Friedman character tells us that it's not such a bad thing if you're homosexual. It's not such a bad thing if you are immodest as a woman. It's not a bad thing. It's okay. Why? If you're not looking good in the streets, what good is it then? No one's going to know that you're an attractive woman. What good is it? Or he tells you, worst case scenario anyway, even if Hashem doesn't like that you're a homosexual, or He doesn't like that you're an immodest woman, worst case scenario, you go to Gehenom. What's in Gehenom? Nothing. What's in Gehenom? You just don't know you're a soul. You're confused for a year. You're confused for a year, Friedman says. What, fire? No, that's just exaggerate. Exaggeration. When you have people like this speaking for 40 years this Rasha is speaking, and then when you finally bring this out to the public to let them know, listen, according to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, someone that is a homosexual is a to'evat Hashem, is disgusting in the eyes of Hashem. You look at the commentary by Rashi says someone that makes a sin of homosexuality turns himself into Amalek. But Friedman says, it's not a big deal, it's one sin, like his brother, Boteach. Like his long-lost Chabadnik brother, Boteach, also says, not a big deal, you may be homosexual. He didn't tell you guys that his brother's homosexual. That's why he likes homosexuals. He didn't tell you guys that, though. So when you have somebody like this teaching Klal Yisrael in America, in the English-speaking public for 40 years, of course you're going to be confused. How are you going to be? How are you expected to know anything when someone tells you it's not such a bad thing? He tells women, he starts giggling with them, laughing with them in a lecture. Who said you're allowed to laugh with women in lectures? Who says you're allowed to even give a lecture just to women on a regular basis. You can give a lecture to women as part of the crowd. You can give a lecture to women once in a while. But you're not allowed to go as shiur kavua with just one group of women. Hashem Yachem, who said you're allowed to do such a thing? No, but he wants to talk to women, but not only talk to them, talk to them about intimacy too. So now, he told you to be modest. He told you that if your brother or your husband or your cousin or your son is homosexual, it's not such a bad thing. He told you that worst case scenario, you go to Gehenom, that's really like Gan Eden anyway. I want to go to his Gehenom. Why? Because he learned it from the Chabad website that has an article about Gehenom, and they give you a picture of Gehenom that I wrote a comment on it. They deleted me though, maybe 10 years ago. I said, I want to go to the Gehenom that you guys picture. I want to go there. Why? It sounds like fun. They didn't like my comment so much. I wrote a bunch of other comments with sources, Shem Yachem. They censored me. Why? There was some truth. Some truth. So now, how is HaKadosh Baruch Hu going to wake us up if this is some of the leading speakers of the day? Some of the most popular speakers of the day are telling you there's no Gehenom that's actual full of punishment. You're allowed to do anything and everything that you want. But sometimes they'll tell people, to confuse us even more, listen, I saw a couple that, the woman had cancer or the son just died, and I told them, that's going to be okay. What am I going to tell them? Listen, maybe it's because you're Mechalel Shabbos. How am I going to tell them that? So in essence, he's telling a different public that he knows that they keep Shabbat. Like, listen, I know that I'm supposed to tell them to keep Shabbat, but I can't tell them that. I'm going to hurt them. So what does he do? What does he do? He fits to the crowd, like a chameleon. He goes over here, he's blue. He goes over there, he's green. Over there, he's a burgundy. Whatever you want him to be. Now, if this is one of the most popular speakers, how are we going to do tshuva? How? Tell me. How are we going to do tshuva as a nation? And what? You think he's the only little one? He has a bunch of little minions. Everywhere. Now, why do I mention this today? Why am I starting on fire already today? Because as all of you perhaps know, about a week ago, we published a clip with Talmid Chacham of Avigdor Miller. Avigdor Miller was one of the Gdolei Israel. One of his Talmidim, Rav Yehuda Levin, came out, so after he saw a tiny little clip of this Meshuga Friedman about the modesty part, not even the rest of the stuff. And he came out and rebuked. Why? Because he says this is not allowed. It's not allowed to say such things to the public. You're a Machtia Rabin. You make people sin. Now, Baruch Hashem, it's been a very popular clip. Thousands of people have watched it. But if you look at the comments, not all of them are saying Chazaku Baruch. In fact, there is just as many people that claim to be confused. Why are they confused? Like, how could you say Lashon Hara about Menace Friedman? How could you do such a thing and embarrass another Jew in public? Wait, did you see the clip? Did you watch what he says? Did you understand that what he says is wrong and against the Torah? So what do they say? Oh, no, you don't understand. Wigs are allowed. What does this have to do with wigs? Did you watch the clip? Even Rav Yehuda Levin says wigs are allowed if it's halachically allowed by your Rav and it's modest and so on and so forth. He's not talking about the whole Avodah Zarah situation. He's not talking about whether wigs are allowed or not. Did anybody watch the clip and actually pay attention? No, they picked one thing. He has nothing. It has nothing to do with wigs. It has to do with the guy's a shakran. He's a liar, and he's telling people that you should be pretty much a prutza. Immodest woman in the streets, or else it's not worth it to be pretty. That's what he's saying. That's the whole clip. I can't believe I have to give commentary on this clip. People are so enamored by the giggles and the lies, they can't even pay attention to the truth. Now, Rabotai, we are in a situation that we haven't seen in 70 years, 80 years. They're killing Jews in the streets. Now, I spoke about this on Sunday, hoping that there's going to be some type of mercy from Shamayim, and many people are going to watch it, but apparently not enough, at least not enough to do tshuva to stop it. And they killed another Jew today. They ran him over with a car, a Jew coming out of a Bet Knesset, 60-year-old Jew. Shem Rachem. Rabotai, if we don't start changing seriously, it's going to get worse. Now, if you noticed, they're not going after the non-religious Jews. They're not going after the Zionists. They're not going after the heretics. They're not going after the Reshaim that want to go against the Torah and make everyone violate Shabbat. They're not going after them. They're going after us. They're going after people that are trying to keep the Torah and the mitzvot. That's who they're killing. That's who they're stabbing. That's who they're threatening day and night. For every killing, for every beating that we have gotten over the last couple of weeks, and since Rosh Hashanah for the last few months, I know there's been hundreds of them that we don't know about that almost happened. Now, while most people, including our brothers and sisters, including the religious brothers and sisters that we have, instead of coming to a shiur Torah, they're going and drinking whiskey and champagne and tequila like the goyim. They're celebrating Jesus' birthday today. You know, I'm just waiting for them to start having a birthday song. Maybe make a cake. What are you celebrating? The Gregorian calendar? Gregorian calendar that's based on the death of the biggest Machtia Rabim in the history of man? The biggest heretic, the biggest kofar that ever existed. You're celebrating his birthday today? No, that was last week. It's today also. They have many birthdays. Every other day is a birthday. That's what you're celebrating? No, it's not about that. It's just having a good time. Okay, so why don't you have a good time on the yard site of Hitler? How come you don't have a good time on the yard site of Hitler? How come not? How come you don't have a yard site party for Osama bin Laden? Maybe for Saddam Hussein? Maybe Arafat? Why don't you have a yard site party for them? Call it New Year's 2. Now, while all of them are celebrating Avodah Zarah today, including their rabbis, that are bigger reshaim than everybody else because they're supposed to know. At least the others can claim ignorance. In the next several hours, the biggest population of Jewish people in the world outside of Israel is about to hit a wall that's 100% the hand of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that is new laws that are going into effect in New York. Laws that make no sense, laws that are against nature, laws that are against humanity, laws that are against logic, rationale, but laws that Hashem Yirachem Aleinu, what they will bring. Someone sent me a message today, and I had a hard time believing. I checked it, and it's true. In the next few hours, as of January 1st, Jesus' birthday, any criminal charges in the state of New York that are considered E-felonies, Class E felonies are like theft, assault, forcible touching, aggravated harassment. These laws are only going to be capable of arresting a person for a maximum of 2 hours. You go and start beating up Jews in the streets, in the synagogue, in their house, steal stuff from them, rob stuff. all types of horrible nightmares outside of murder itself. Maximum, you're getting 2 hours. You're going to jail, it's a little vacation. Maybe I'll give you a sandwich too. If that's not enough, there's a whole list I'm not going to read. But as of January 1st, 2020, the senator in the 49th district, James Tedisco, is putting this cash bowl reform eliminations, where a defendant must be released from custody without bail for the following crimes: manslaughter in the second degree, aggravated vehicular homicide, criminally negligent homicide. These are all murders, by the way. Assault in the third degree, aggravated vehicular assault, making a terror threat, criminal possessions of a gun on school grounds, criminal sale of firearms to a minor, arson, meaning putting something on fire in the third or fourth degree, money laundering in support of terrorism, and so on and so forth. Bribery, resisting arrest, hindering prosecution. This is going into effect, Rabotai. Meaning, New York, the place where the most Jews in the world live, simply is going to turn into slightly worse than Sodom and Gomorrah in the next several hours, while people are celebrating a stupid ball full of lights coming up, coming down. This obviously is Yad Hashem. You don't need to be a genius to understand that none of this makes any sense. It's against all logic, all rationale, all things that make any sense. And it's simply HaKadosh Baruch Hu rebuking us in a very, very serious way. Now for all of those that want a pasuk, you want a verse that shows this, B'siyat Dishmaya, we learned it today. Prophet Isaiah, chapter 10, verse number 5 and 6. Oy Ashur sheved api umatei, be'adam ve'ami. Woe to Assyria, the rod of my anger. My wrath is a staff in their hand. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, this Assyria, which was the most powerful country of its day, needless to say, America, it's considered at least one of the most, if not the most powerful country of today. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us through the prophet, not about Assyria that's not relevant and doesn't exist today. The prophecy is about today, or else it wouldn't be in the Tanakh. Gemara Masechet Megillah says everything that's written in the Torah, in the Tanakh, has to do with today. What day is today? Today. Whatever today is to you, it's today. Woe unto Assyria, the rod of my anger. I'm going to use HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying that I'm going to use Assyria as a rod to show my anger. My wrath is the staff in their hand. Even the staff that I usually direct you guys to the right places, that staff is also full of my wrath. Hashem Yirachem. Because I have to direct you to do tshuva. Who is he going to go after? Who do you think he's going to go after? You think he's going to go after the Zionists? Bibi Netanyahu and his friends? Maybe Lapid Rasha? Who do you think he's going to go after? Against the hypocritical people shall I send them. The fake religious. The ones that pretend to love Hashem, but don't even have the ounce of Yirat Shamayim. They go into unethical businesses like cash advance, but still call themselves religious. They fund nightclubs, and they think that it's kosher money. They steal from each other. They send hitmen to each other because you stole a few dollars from me as a Jew. I'm allowed to beat you up. Who said you're allowed? He's talking about the religious people, the hypocrites, the ones that are looking religious but not really religious. Against the hypocritical people shall I send them, and against the people that angers me shall I charge them, and also the rest. To take spoils and to plunder booty, and to make them trampled like a mirror in the street of the streets. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us in a clear language, if you do not start listening to the lectures and doing tshuva, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, his hand is being forced. What we've seen in the last couple of weeks is a nightmare. I saw a short video of all of the documented terror attacks against Jews in America. All of the killings and the beatings. And you can't help yourself but start crying that this is your brother. It's getting beat up by some gangster. It's getting beat up by some Amalek. But you cry even more when you realize that there's not much you can do other than give a shiur for free. For a couple of dozen people and hopefully a few thousand over the internet. What else can you do? Now, I know, maybe some of you know, maybe some of you don't know, but some Reshaim, anti-Semite Nazis, discovered some of my videos when I spoke as a rebuke against the Jewish people that are in the cash advance business. And over the last few weeks, they've had a ball with it. They took a few clips from that shiur of how I tell people that this is an unethical business. You're stealing from people. Whether they're Jews or Gentiles is irrelevant. And it's not allowed. And it's actually one of the things that led to the Holocaust. It's also one of the things that led to pogroms and inquisitions before. This happened in England 800 years ago. It happened in Spain. It happened in Germany. It happened many times. And I said it, and Baruch Hashem, several people in the cash advance business retired permanently, left after watching those two shiurim, those two clips. But the Nazis and the Arab terrorists that hate Am Yisrael took those clips and showed as if they're right. Oh, look, he's speaking against his people. He's telling me, see, it proves that they are in charge and they are in this. So a couple of people sent me this. I said, what do you think? Maybe you should remove it. Maybe this, maybe that. I said, Ishtabach Shimolad, Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem, that the Goyim can see that there's a difference between what the Torah and the rabbis say and what the Reshaim do. At least they'll see that there's a difference in different types of Jews, that we're not all the same. We're not all the same. Why? There's a Jew that listens to the Torah that says it's not allowed. In a very strong language, rebukes. And there's a Jew that just pretends to look the same. Pretends to even look better as far as religiosity is concerned. But he cheats people. Know there's a difference. This is a Kiddush Hashem, not Chilul Hashem. Baruch Hashem, that they see that there's a difference. There's a difference between a Jew that follows Torah and a Jew that doesn't follow Torah. A Jew that follows Torah does not matter. It does not matter to him whether you like or dislike his words. Why? Because he's simply telling you what's allowed according to the Torah, what's not allowed according to the Torah. He's not going to giggle with you. He's not going to tell you that homosexuality is not such a big deal. It's only one sin out of 613. Hashem Yachem. He's not going to tell you that you should be promiscuous and immodest and whatever else he feels like for the day. He's not going to tell you that. He's going to tell you, listen, you waste seed, you lost Olam Haba, unless you do tshuva. You continue driving on Shabbat, you're going to Gehinnom permanently, unless you do tshuva. You're cheating on your wife, you have a very serious problem, my friend. It's called Gehinnom. That's what a kosher Jew is going to tell you right now. Why? We don't have enough time to twiddle around and giggle with each other, and hopefully maybe you'll do tshuva. Either you do it or you don't. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu started. HaKadosh Baruch Hu started. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in essence, right now is starting to do some things that He hasn't done in many years. Things that don't make any sense. And there's nothing that we can rely on. Moving to Israel is not going to help you. You want to move? Go move. Mabruk, enjoy. I wish I could move. I wish I could move to Eretz Yisrael. There's nothing for me here, other than you people. Other than English-speaking people that come to the shiur, there's no other reason for me to stay in America. But you guys want to move? Move tomorrow. Why? What do you have here? But you think it's going to help you as far as terrorism is concerned? You think it's going to help you as far as Amalek is concerned? No, it's not going to help you that. Why? Because there's problems there too. There's problems everywhere. The only thing that's going to help us, Rabotai Yekarim, is us doing tshuva and helping Klal Yisrael do tshuva. That's the only thing that's going to help you. That's the only thing that's going to help you. Now we talk about tshuva a lot. Once in a while we give you a tool that you can use in order to help you do tshuva. And the Ramban, in his fantastic, extraordinary letter that must have been written with Ruach HaKodesh, is giving us a couple of tools that we can use in order to do tshuva. He tells his son, and thereby us, בכל דבריך ומעשיך ומחשבותיך ובכל עת חשוב בלבך כאילו אתה עומד לפני הקדוש ברוך הוא ושכינתו עליך כי כבודו מלא העולם ודבריך יהיו באימה וביראה כעבד לפני רבו. The Ramban HaKadosh says that we obviously have to not be angry. We obviously, even when we're rebuking, it's not coming from anger. It's coming from a place of loving people. Even when we tell somebody to do something and they don't do it, we don't get angry they didn't listen to us. We get upset because we know it's going to hurt them not to listen. So he tells us not to be angry. He tells us not to be proud. Even if you're right, don't be proud. Even if you're rich, don't be proud. Even if you're smart, don't be proud. Why? None of that belongs to you. It's all gifts from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, so okay, that's good. Don't. All that stuff is don't. Go. Don't do this, don't do that. Okay, but when I'm hot and I feel like sinning, when Yetzirah, Amalek, Malach HaMavet, everybody showed up in me, how do I stop myself from sinning? The fact that I'm not allowed to do it, okay, I get that. Not allowed to drive on Shabbat. But what if, I want to go somewhere? Not allowed to eat non-kosher, but what if it really looks delicious and I'm really hungry? What if she's really beautiful and she says, come to me? What do I do in those situations? So the Ramban tells us this is what you do. In all of your words and your actions and your thoughts, and at all times, imagine in your heart that you are standing in the presence of the Holy One, blessed is He, and that His presence rests upon you. And that all of your things will be with consideration of awe and fear as a servant next to his master. So here the Ramban tells us how we're simply supposed to behave at all times. If anyone wants to know what's a Jew that's righteous, the Ramban gives us the picture. He tells us that we have to at all times, and obviously this takes effort, this takes practice, and this takes a lifelong of Torah to eventually get to. But he says that in everything that you do, in all of your words, and all of your actions, and all of your thoughts, don't think that just your words need to be clean language, but you could punch people in the face once in a while. No. Your words and your actions. But not just physically, but also how you deal with your actions when it comes to money. Don't pretend to be the tzaddik and the donor of the community and the macher and all of these terms that people have for the people that build, but all the money is stolen. All the money is acquired illegally. All the money is acquired unethically. No. In all of your words and all of your actions and even in all of your thoughts, even your thoughts have to be clean. Even your thoughts have to have yirat shamayim. You got a thought of something inappropriate in your mind, immediately work on replacing it with something disgusting, with something awful. Like I told you, that Jew that told me what he does when he thinks of a woman for a second. He sees a woman that's attractive, he immediately starts thinking about maggots eating her. That's what he thinks about. Why? Because he knows that if he doesn't think about that, he's going to think about her instead. And that's going to lead to some type of action, whether it's while he's awake or while he's sleeping. And that's why the Shulchan Aruch says that if a man goes to sleep, has a dream of a woman, and the woman is his wife, and right before the action happens, he wakes up, but he's still hot. His wife's right next to him, and she never says no, she loves him. Shulchan Aruch says, don't touch her. You're not allowed to touch her. Why? But she's my wife. She's not nida, she's clean, everything's good. You're not allowed to touch her so long as that thought of the woman from your dreams is still in your head. As long as you're hot. As long as you're still. Don't touch her. Not allowed. Why? The woman in your dream is not your wife. She just looks like her. It's the Satan's wife, wearing a costume. You go with your wife right now, you're going to have a hell of a problem. Your thoughts have to be clean, Rabotai. How can we get our thoughts to be clean? Almost so much garbage is in our thoughts all day, every day. How do we clean our thoughts? Only way you can clean your thoughts is learning Torah either from the books or watching clean shiurim. Not of some pervert that tells you all types of nasty things. Clean shiurim. If the speaker looks like a non-Jewish supermodel, you're not allowed to watch him. If he starts telling you the rules of the goyim, he starts telling you about how it's okay to be homosexual, and it's okay to be promiscuous, it's okay to be everything. Or like our friend Dror Kasuto, that says, listen, if you want to go learn Torah, but you want to get a little weed a little bit, and it's good for you, go for it. If your wife doesn't want to go to the mikveh, go for it. She wants to go to the beach on Shabbat, go for it. Dror Kasuto, the Hasid. Dror Kasuto, Mekubal. You listen to these shiurim, it is destroying your neshamot. It's destroying your neshamot. You go to a bekneset and the speaker, the rabbi over there, allows Christians to come every weekend, like our friend Goldberg and Company from Boca Raton. Brings Christians to the shul on a regular basis. Like it's a big kavod. He's honoring them. Because he's on the board of directors with them for 8-pack and this pack and all types of packs. And gets a lot of money from them. There's no other way you could afford a $3-4 million house in Boca Raton as a rabbi. You don't get that in rabbi salary. Rabbi salary, maybe you can get a little shack in comparison. But if your rabbi brings Christians to your shul, missionaries especially, guess what, Rabotai? You listen to everything he says. Even if he's reading the Ramchal to you. Even if he's reading Parashat Shavua to you. He's destroying your neshama with every single word. The Gemara in Masechet Moed Katan says somebody that has such acts, such horrible midot, it's a sin to listen to him, like eating pork. You listen to them because you like their jokes. You listen to them because you like their and all that stuff. Okay. Okay, don't worry about it. One day you're going to wake up and you're going to go cheat on your wife. You're going to cheat on your husband. You're going to cheat on the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Why? You were religious until now. What happened? You listen to Shulim every day. Your neshama, little by little, became rotten. Because you allowed rotten speakers into it. Because the Ramban here says that your thoughts have to be clean. How do you get your thoughts to be clean if you're constantly listening to unclean people? How? You're buying Shmuley Botech's books, Hashem Yirachem. You're supporting a Machtia Rabim. You're supporting Amalek himself. You think this is going to help your neshama? Give you protection for your kids? Every other house has kids going off the derech, Hashem Yachem. What do you think? This is a coincidence? No, it's the internet. Plenty of people use the internet and did Teshuva because of the internet. Didn't go and do the other things. Plenty of people use the internet for good things. How come your kid only uses it for bad things? How come your husband and wife only use it for bad things? How come? There's a reason. So now, Rabotai, the Ramban tells us that his presence, a person has to understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence is upon you. Because his glory fills the world, he's everywhere. And you have to speak with reverence and awe, like a servant who stands in the presence of his master. Now, here, the Ramban gives us tool number one. Now, we already knew before today that we have to have Yirat Shamayim. But the Ramban tells us how. He tells us it all has to do with what you bring into your mind, your thoughts, your imagination. He says, imagine in your heart that you are standing in the presence of the Holy One. Meaning that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave you an imagination. Not just to invent new tools, not just to build new things and make movies and make money and do marketing. Your imagination, your thoughts were not created just for that. That's actually an extra benefit. The number one reason of why you have an imagination is to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why you have an imagination. So how do you use your imagination? The Ramban tells us use your imagination in order to improve your Teshuva, in order to improve your Avodat Hashem. Now, in the time of Rabbi Yosef Karo, Alav Shalom, 500 years ago, the level of Torah that existed in the world at that time was something out of this world. The Kedusha that Rabbi Yosef Karo reached is something that is hard for people to understand today. It sounds like fairy tales. Now, Rabbi Yosef Karo had a site from the Shulchan Aruch, the main body of law that all Jews comply with if they want to be righteous. This Shulchan Aruch took mainly the Rambam and put it into halacha for day to day. So all of the halachic books that you see today are always going to mention the Shulchan Aruch says this. This is the halacha lemase. This is what we do. And the books that are in today are going to show you how to apply this halacha from the Shulchan Aruch to your car, to your house, to your this, to your that. Today. What he did 500 years ago was something out of this world, because he made it in such a way that was easily accessible, easily understandable by simply anyone of that time. Now, to reach such a merit, you had to be a very holy person. One of the samples of how holy he was, what level he reached, is what we learned from a sefer that he wrote, which was his journal, called Magid Mesharim. This was his personal journal that was discovered later on, which was his conversations between him and his chavruta, his study buddy. Who was his study buddy? An angel. An angel every single day came down from Shamayim. Hey, Rabbi Yosef Karo, how are you? Okay, you ready to study? Let's go. Today, well, the closest we get to an angel is a sticker. We get a sticker we buy from the store for the kids. You put it on on your notebook. That's what you get. What angels we have? Angel, we can't even spell in English. But why? Because we think it's angel. We're not even sure. Angel. What angel? Rabbi Yosef Karo, our grandfather, has an angel's chavruta. and you have this book, it's only in Hebrew, and you have this sefer, it tells you the conversation between them. Angel comes to Rabbi Yosef Karo and tells him one day, rebukes him, gives him on the head. Why did you only study 2 hours of MUSSAR today? Only 2 hours of MUSSAR today. 2 hours of ethics today. Only 2 hours. Only. If Rabbi Yosef Karo needs to learn 2 hours of MUSSAR today, we need 2 million today. We need a Kadosh Baruch Hu to invent more time so we can survive the day. But the angel from Shemayim gave it to him on the head. How can you only study 2 hours of MUSSAR today? Now, at the same time that Rabbi Yosef Karo was writing the Shulchan Aruch, another tzaddik, another chacham on the other side of the world, Rabbi Moshe Isserlis, had the same merit to write the Shulchan Aruch. And the Magid Mesharim, the angel, Chavruta of Rabbi Yosef Karo, tells him, there's another tzaddik that's writing the same thing you are, Shulchan Aruch, on the other side of the world. If you don't hurry up, he's going to finish before you and the whole world's going to accept his. So Rabbi Yosef Karo completed it and sent it everywhere. When Rabbi Moshe Isserlis received it, he was in shock. Why? It's like seeing his own book. It's like seeing his own Torah. Only difference was he added the Ashkenazi minagim, whereas Rabbi Yosef Karo was Sephardic. But since it was all about the emet, what did he do when he received this book? He didn't start hating. He didn't start sending people to make dislike remarks, go against, don't invite them. No, chas v'shalom, the opposite. He added the customs of Ashkenaz to the Shulchan Aruch, and he told everybody, this is emet. This is what you have to from now on. So today when you buy Shulchan Aruch, you have both. You have the Sephardi and the Ashkenazi minagim in it. That's how you buy it today, Shulchan Aruch. I'm not sure if there's a Shulchan Aruch in English, but quite frankly, for most people, unless you're a serious Talmid Chacham, there are easier books to learn halacha from. For example, for Sfaradim, it's Yalkut Yosef has become very popular and very, very good. I myself learned from it. It's a very easy language, and you simply understand yes and no. You understand yes and no, so, and why. Because most of the time, if you're not going to spend 10, 20 hours a day learning, you're not going to have the time to understand how they got to this halacha and so on. You just need to know allowed or not allowed. So, this Rabbi Moshe Isserlis was a huge, giant chacham, big tzaddik, was also very rich. Now, in his own commentary to the Shulchan Aruch, his own commentary, how he starts the Shulchan Aruch, how the Shulchan Aruch starts. You go to Shulchan Aruch, this is what you're going to see. Before the halachot, this is what he writes exactly. And the Rambam, in Moreh Nevuchim, chapter 3, I believe it's section 52, writes the same thing. He writes the pasuk, Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. I have set Hashem before me at all times, which is a pasuk from Psalm 16, verse number 8. And he writes, this principle is the fundamental theme underlying Torah observance and all the lofty accomplishments of the righteous. We do not sit, move, or conduct ourselves when we are at home the same way as we would in the presence of a king. Although we speak as we please when we are with our relatives, we don't act freely when we are in royal audience. All the more so should we be careful when we take to heart that we are constantly in the presence of the mightiest of kings, the Holy One, blessed is He. He carefully observes our every action, as it is written in Jeremiah 23:24. Can any man hide himself in secret places so that I shall not see him, says Hashem. This is how Rabbi Moshe Isserlis starts the Ramah, starts the Shulchan Aruch. He says, before you read any of the halachot, and this is accepted among Klal Yisrael. It's not this one, that's one. This is accepted among all of Am Yisrael. Before you read any halacha, before you read the Shulchan Aruch, before you learn how to go to the bathroom and how to say Tilat Yadayim, and how to eat, and how to say a blessing, how this, how that, before you do anything, know this. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching everything you do. There is no such thing as a big law and a small law. There's no such thing as this is important, this is not important. If it's in his book, it's important to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Don't ever think for a moment that Hashem is not watching you. Don't ever think for a moment that Hashem doesn't care. Don't ever think for a moment that Hashem is going to simply let this one go. As the Gemara says, anyone that calls HaKadosh Baruch Hu a vatran, vatran means he lets things go. Mevatrim me'av, they let go and they cut his intestines to pieces in Shamayim when he gets there. He gets an extra punishment for being a chutzpan, thinking that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is just going to let things go. He doesn't care. He doesn't care that you cheated on your wife. He doesn't care that you beat her a few times. He doesn't care you cheated a few customers. He doesn't care that you're a thief. He doesn't care that you look at anything that walks. You say he doesn't care, you get an extra punishment just for that. And then you get punished with the sin itself. Why? HaKadosh Baruch Hu cares about everything. That's why he said it. That's why he said it. This, Rabotai, is how the Shulchan Aruch starts. Before you even learn how to wash your hands the right way. Before you learn how to keep Shabbat. Is the food always going to be cold because I'm not allowed to use fire? No, you're allowed to heat the food, but the heat has to be a kosher type of heat. For today, it's called a plata. You put a hot plate. Before Shabbat, you put the food on top of it, as long as the food is not liquid. No problem, heat it as much as you want, as long as it's ready already. You're not cooking it, you're just heating it. But if it's soup, for example, you could put it on the plata before Shabbat. The soup, before Shabbat, you put it on the plata. But the second you want the soup to feed it, you take the pot out, you feed everybody food, but then you're not allowed to put the pot back. Why? Because you're not allowed to reheat and recook this soup because it's majority liquid. But if it's a chulent, or if it's some type of beef, or something like that where the majority is solids, you can eat the food and eat hot food. If you don't know halachot Shabbat, what's going to happen to you? You're going to eat cold food all the time. Because you're not going to know that fire on Shabbat is not no fire is allowed ever, is that there is a certain type of fire that is allowed. It's a kosher type of fire, what's called hot plate. Same thing with lights. You're allowed to have lights on Shabbat. People who don't know halachot Shabbat think they have to live in darkness. No, you're allowed. Just as long as it's lit before Shabbat, you leave it on. You don't turn it off. The point is, Rabotai, if a person learns the Shulchan Aruch and all of these laws, it's good. But the Shulchan Aruch says something even before. Even before you learn any of these laws, you could learn the entire Shulchan Aruch by heart. But if you don't have the understanding that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching every single thing that you're doing, the whole thing is going to waste. Now, when a person knows that someone is watching, automatically a person becomes embarrassed. And that shame that a person has when he knows that people are watching him is actually very, very good. Because a person now is going to take responsibility for his actions. And that's why the Gemara in Masechet Yevamot, page 79a, says that whoever is shy will not easily come to sin. But whoever has no shame proves that his forefathers did not stand in Mount Sinai. Meaning, if you're not a shy person, you're just one of these gasim, you just do whatever your business in the streets. Whatever your business is, whether it's with your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your whatever you are, you go to Mitzad HaGa'ava, the gay pride parade. You go to the bathroom in the middle of the street. You act like the bathroom in the streets. You do whatever you want in the streets, no problem. No, you're probably not connected to Moshe Rabbeinu, Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, no way. Gemara says it. Something's wrong with you. You're probably the Amalek, the fake converts that came. You're probably those. No way. Shame, Rabotai, is one of the three most important qualities of a Jew. As the Gemara says in the same place, three things distinguish the nation of Israel from all of the nations. The fact that we're shy, compassionate, and kind. And whoever doesn't display these three traits, whoever displays these traits is surely a descendant of Avraham Avinu. Now sometimes you're going to see these traits in the goyim. You're going to see a kind goy. You're going to see a goy that's shy. You're going to see a goy that is a very nice person, very compassionate. You're going to see it. It's not necessarily exclusive to have these traits in Jews, but it's exclusive that if you're a righteous Jew, this stuff is automatic to you. You don't have to work on being compassionate. You see that there's a little baby crying, it bothers you. You see someone homeless in the streets, it bothers you. You don't have to think about it twice. You see someone's in need, immediately you come out of your pocket. It's not like you're thinking, can I afford it, can't afford it. No, it's the you give first, think later. Generosity comes natural to you. Compassion on people, doesn't matter if they're Jews or not, comes natural to you. But also being ashamed of doing wrong also comes natural to you. If we are at a point where we've lost our sense of shame, unfortunately, Rabotai, we are at a position where we are putting ourselves at risk, a very big risk. And I'll give you a few examples. You see, sometimes people ask questions. How come the Arabs, many of which hate us, some like us, but many, many, many hate us, and one is dead? How come HaKadosh Baruch Hu blessed them with so much money? I mean, you see some of these Arabs, these sheikhs, with literally tens of billions of dollars. They have so much money, they just start inventing stuff to waste their money on. Make me the same car in absolute gold, including the screws. For what? You can't drive it if it's that heavy. I don't know, I just want to have it. I want to have a Hyundai that's gold. Like they have nothing to do with their money, just invent stuff to waste their money on. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu give them so much money? They have palaces in all places. You see, Rabotai, the Arabs are also descendants of Avraham Avinu. And Avraham blessed them. Why did Avraham bless Ishmael? Didn't we learn that Ishmael was a Rasha, tried to kill Yitzchak? Well, the truth is, Rabotai, initially, he didn't bless him. If you look at the Midrash of Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkinos, Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, it says that after Sarah Imenu died, Avraham remarried Hagar, the mother of Ishmael. Why did Avraham marry Hagar? What indication did he have that Hagar did Teshuva? Because when she left, when she was thrown out, she wasn't a good person. She was a Reshait, wicked. Why would you go back to this wicked woman? You could find somebody else after Sarah Imenu died. Because Avraham, before this, he went to visit Ishmael a couple of times. The first time he came, Ishmael and Hagar weren't there. He asked Ishmael's wife, where's your husband? He says, oh, he's in the desert getting some fruit, some dates with his mom, Hagar. So Avraham pretended to be hungry. He goes, I was in a long way. I haven't eaten in a long time. I'm thirsty. Can you give me something to eat? The wife's like, no, we don't have anything. We don't have anything. So Avraham says to the woman, he says, okay, can you leave Ishmael a message for me? Tell him that the doorposts of his house are not steady. It's not good for him. It's not healthy for him. So she tells this to Ishmael when Ishmael comes back, and Ishmael was smart, got the message. What did he say? He's talking about my wife. He says, my wife is no good. Why? Because he came all the way far. She doesn't even want to host a guest. Doesn't want to welcome the old man. He understood that the old man is his father, and his father says, your wife is no good, so he threw her out. Divorced her. Found another wife. He married one of Hagar's family members, and made sure this is a good wife. And years later, Avraham Avinu came back to visit Ishmael, and the same thing happened. Ishmael wasn't there. And he asked her, can you please give me some food? And she hosted him. And he told her, okay, tell Ishmael that he's going to be blessed, that he'll be blessed and he'll be very, very fruitful, and so on and so forth. So Ishmael got the message that Avraham Avinu gave him a blessing. So Avraham gave him a blessing. A blessing of what? A blessing of parnasah. So all of this money that the Arabs have is why? Because Ishmael was a good host and also had a good wife. Now, still, Rabotai, why does this affect us today? This affects us today because that also gave Avraham a sign that Hagar, the mother of Ishmael, also did tshuva, also improved herself. So he brought her back after Sarai Imenu died, and she's called in the Torah in Sefer Bereshit, chapter 25, verse number 1. It says that Avraham again took a wife whose name was Keturah. Keturah is Hagar. Why is she called Keturah? Keturah after the Ketoret, the incense offering. Her actions, her tshuva was so beautiful that it was like a beautiful smell of the Ketoret. And he married her and he had children with her. And he gave them many presents of supernatural forces. That's why a lot of the ancient Arabs and even today had literally the black magic of the world starts from there. He gave all of the things that he got from the wars, Avraham got from the wars, he gave it to her children. Now, the same Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer says the following, that Hagar did tshuva, she was very modest, and therefore Avraham married her and blessed the kids that they had together. What was her reward? This is her reward. The descendants of Ishmael will do 15 things to conquer Eretz Yisrael in the end of times. 1, they will measure the land and appraise the amount of property tax the owner must pay. They'll take control of the land. Hashem Yirachem. They will turn cemeteries into garbage dumps and resting places in order to humiliate and offend people. Before the end of times, the Arabs are going to take control over Eretz Yisrael, Hashem Yirachem Aleinu, and these are some of the things they're going to do. As you noticed, Arabs love to go to Jewish cemeteries and desecrating them. This is part of the end of times. This is part of the reward for Hagar. They will force the people to prepare construction sites for government buildings. They'll, in essence, enslave part of us, make us do things. Corruption will increase. As you noticed, a lot of the corruption that's in the Israeli government is by the Arabs, but nobody does anything. The upright people, the tzaddikim, will be persecuted. The observance of the Torah will be prohibited. Sin will increase in Israel. For the Jews will be compelled to go against the Torah. Silk will be adulterated with wool. Paper and pen will wither, making it impossible to write down all of the lies and the bribery and the violence that they're doing. The currency will be cancelled, invalidated, causing huge sums of huge losses for anyone that has cash. Devastated cities will be rebuilt, roads will be cleared. They'll plant gardens and fruit groves. They'll reconstruct the breaches of the wall of the Bet HaMikdash. and they will erect a Muslim house of worship on the site of the sanctuary of the Beit HaMikdash. Last I checked, they already did that one. Why did they get such a huge amount of reward before Mashiach comes? One reason, and one reason only. Hagar did Teshuva, and she was a modest woman. Such is the reward for modesty, whether you're Jew or Gentile. Not modest like some of these fake people today. Some of these Muslims are really fake. They're modest in front of people, but then if they go on the plane, they go to France, they look like prostitutes. They take off the whole tent that they live in, and they look like Shem Yachem. They look like Paris people. No, I'm talking about real modest people. Even if you're a non-Jew, you get rewarded for it. Now, what do you get if you're modest as a Jew? Gemara, Masechet Yoma, has a fantastic story of one of the greatest Jewish women that ever lived. A woman named Kimchit. Masechet Yoma, page 47a and b, says the rabbis taught in the Berita, Shiv'a banim ayula Kimchit. Kimchit, a woman, a Jewish woman, had 7 sons. And all of them served in a position of the Kohen Gadol in the Beit HaMikdash. All 7 sons served as Kohen Gadol in the Beit HaMikdash at one point or another. And she lived to see all of this. Now I thought initially, oh, wait, why is she so, why is this so good? If she's the mother of 7 kids, and all of them are Kohen Gadol, then you can't have more than 1 Kohen Gadol at a time. So that means that all of this happened after she died. Best, she saw the first one, Kohen Gadol, and then he died. She saw the second one, Kohen Gadol, then he died, and then she saw the third one, Kohen Gadol, because you replaced him. So what kind of greatness is this, that you're seeing your kids die every year? Who wants to see this? Because no. She lived to see all 7 of our sons as Kohanim Gdolim. Not because they died. Why? Because the Kohen Gadol had to be pure. And Hashem structured it in such a way. He wanted to give this righteous woman a reward to see something no one's ever seen before. All the kids serve as Kohen Gadol at least once. How? The Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur had an emergency meeting with the Arabs. Emergency meeting to protect Am Yisrael on Yom Kippur. So he had to go. Now when the Arab was talking to him, a little bit of spit went from his mouth onto the Kohen Gadol. That makes him tameh. He's not allowed to be Kohen Gadol anymore. So he did the job the first night of Yom Kippur, but he had to replace himself. So the replacement Kohen was his brother. And this happened every year for several years until all 7 brothers served as Kohen Gadol. Such is the precision of the reward of a Kadosh Baruch Hu when a Kadosh Baruch Hu wants to give a nice Jewish woman something. He'll show you all of your kids getting to greatness. Now the Gemara says why? Why did she get such a thing? What? She did Birkat HaMazon extra long? She prayed 8 times a day. What did she do? So the rabbis themselves came to Kimchit and asked her, what did you do to have such merit? And she says, Miyamai lo ra'u korot beti kal asarai. Says, in all of my days, the beams, the walls of my house did not see the braids of my hair. All the days of my life, I covered my hair with a mitpachat. To such an extent that even when I would change the mitpachat, change it, I want a different color, I want to fix it, whatever it is, she arranged to have something cover her with something, a bed sheet, and she would do it under the bed sheet. That even the walls, even if no one was home, just her, even the walls didn't see my hair. Why? Because I knew to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's my privacy. Now, if this sounds strange to anyone today, that's only because you don't know your grandmother and your great-grandmother. Because our great-grandmothers, that was standard for them. We never saw my grandmother's hair, ever. Never saw it. Now I asked my mom one time about my grandmother. I'm like, oh, so when you grew up, this, that. She goes, no. Because us as kids, 8, 9 kids in the house, Baruch Hashem, none of us ever saw our mother's hair. My mom never saw her mother's hair, never. Now they're girls, and I had girl. Never saw her hair, never. Why? That's private. Needless to say, if a Jewish woman today with all of the tests and all of the manipulation of the law and all of the garbage that's out there, if she overcomes the test and she covers her hair with a mitpachat, imagine the reward she gets. Imagine how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu will reward this Jewish woman. He doesn't want to reward Ishmael. That's why you reward him one time, finished. You're going to get a reward in this world, but that's it. After that, I'm finished with you. But it still exists, this reward for what Hagar did 4,000 years ago. Imagine what we get if we do it today. Now, how could a Jewish woman overcome all the tests? Throw out the wig, throw out all of this false ideology, and take on the minhagim and the behavior and the laws of our grandparents. How? Only way is if you understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching you at all times. And that's all you care about, because Hashem is watching you, and not the guy from the store and the guy from the car repair and your boss. None of those people matter to you. All you care about is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, we see, Rabotai, that when a woman is shy, ashamed of sinning, ashamed of awful behavior, when a man is shy, ashamed of awful behavior that's against the Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu treats them differently than he treats everybody else. He gives them rewards that no one else gets. So the question is, what happened to us during the times of the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash? What happened during the Inquisition, the Holocaust? Whether it's the Holocaust of 80 years ago or it's the Holocaust of 2,000 years ago. It's the same thing. What happened during that time? So the Gemara Masechet Shabbat gives us a chidush. Amar Ula, lo charva Yerushalayim ela mipnei shelo haya lahem boshet panim ze mize. Ula said that Jerusalem was destroyed only because they had no shame for each other. People started walking around immodestly. People started doing their business in the streets, kissing, hugging each other. Like people like rabbis today, like Goldberg and company. He kisses his wife or hugs his wife and puts the picture on Facebook. He forgot that there's a law in the Shulchan Aruch that says that a man is not allowed to show affection to a woman in public. It's completely forbidden. And if he doesn't want to listen to Shulchan Aruch, he could also go to Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. It says the same thing. Now, when we made these mistakes and we showed affection in public, when women started walking around with high heels, when immodesty simply became the style of the day, Kadosh Baruch Hu says, oh, I'm going to destroy the Beit HaMikdash. But then we should say, wait a minute, hold on a second. Okay, so the women weren't modest. Okay, so the guys weren't modest. Okay, we get that. But where were the rabbis during all of this? Don't we have rabbis? We have big rabbis. Why don't they start telling people, hey, listen, put some clothes on. Hey, stop with this, stop with that. Let's get some rabbis and do something. Got big rabbis in the world. So the Gemara continues. Gemara continues and says, לא חרבה ירושלים אלא בשביל שלא הוכיחו זה את זה. Jerusalem was destroyed only because they did not rebuke one another. The rabbis stopped rebuking. Why? They didn't want to offend people. They wanted to keep the mitzvot themselves. Their wife was maybe modest, but the neighbor or the president of the shul and the board of directors and this one and that one that weren't modest, they didn't want to rebuke them. Why? They didn't want to offend people. They were politically correct. As it says in the verse, "Ayu sareha ke'ayalim lo matzu mereh." Its leaders were like harts that found no pasture. So did the Israel, just like a ayal, just like a hart walks in and buries his head in the tail of one another, meaning he's up the tuchus of his neck, of his body. He says, the Gemara says, so did the Israelites of that generation bury their faces in the ground to avoid seeing the wrongdoing around them. They were kissing the butts of the rich people. Kind of sounds familiar. Doesn't sound like it was just written today, like Yaron Reuven or something. I swear to you, I didn't write this. This is Gemara from 2,000 years ago. I wish I wrote it. To be going Gan Eden for sure. They saw the wrong of each other, and they did not admonish one another. And then the Gemara continues in Masechet Shabbat, page 119b, and says, Rava says, "Lo charva Yerushalayim ela bishvil shepasku mimena anshe amana." Yerushalayim was destroyed only because the people of emunah, the people of truth, disappeared from it. As it says in Jeremiah chapter 5, verse number 1, Hashem says to Jeremiah, "Search in the open places of Yerushalayim, and see now and know, and seek in its streets, if you will find a man, if there is one who dispenses justice, one person that rebukes people, one person that tells people, go do tshuva, put on some clothes, keep Shabbat, stop wasting seed, do something." One person out of millions. One person who seeks the truth, I will forgive her. If there's one person in all of Klal Israel that's rebuking, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, one person, I'll forgive everybody. I'll let it go. This means, Rabotai Yekarim, two things. One, not a single person was rebuking Klal Israel. And the second that happened, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, now they can't do tshuva. Why? As long as there's one person rebuking, even if there's only 500 or 5,000 or 10,000 people listening, at least those people will do tshuva. There's a reason for this world to continue. But if there's no one to rebuke, if in fact one guy tried rebuking, but he was so soft, as soon as they started yelling at him, "What are you rebuking us for?" he went back in his shell like a little turtle. Then the Maharsha says, then it's even worse. Why? There's no way that they'll ever do tshuva without people rebuking. There's no way that they'll ever do tshuva without somebody telling them, you're going to go to Genom if you don't do tshuva. That's why Avraham Avinu, Parashat Lech Lecha in the Zohar says, Avraham Avinu would tell people, Goyim, tell Goyim, listen, if you don't worship HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're going to go to Genom. And it has this part, and it has that part. It has 7 chambers. And each chamber has 7 chambers within it. And each chamber within it has more. And there's floors. And he gave him all the details. And Hashem Yachem what he told them. What do you think? He made the whole world do tshuva. What do you think? He gave them gummy bears. What do you guys told them? He told them, well, listen, you could be a homosexual. They did tshuva because of that. Avraham Avinu told them about Genom. In fact, Moshe Rabbeinu They asked, what did Moshe Rabbeinu tell Klal Yisrael between the trip of leaving Egypt until they got to Mount Sinai? What did he tell them? I mean, it took a little bit of time. It wasn't like they went from Egypt there to, 2 hours drive. It took a month and a half to get there. What happened? What did you do? The Gemara says, Moshe Rabbeinu, for a month and a half, tells Klal Yisrael about Gehenom. A month and a half shiur about Gehenom. I don't know what a month and a half shiur about Gehenom looks like. All I know is after that I'm not sinning. A month and a half shiur about Gehenom, Rabotai. But when no one wants to rebuke, when no one wants to tell people the truth because it's not convenient and it's not soothing and it's not fun and it's not pleasant and it's not funny, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Anshe Emunah Avadu. There are no more people of Emet. There's no more people of truth. There's no more people that are going to help Klal Yisrael, my children, do tshuva. That means I have to get involved. I have to force them to do tshuva. And when Hashem forces Klal Yisrael to do tshuva, it hurts. He sends a government that all of a sudden hates Jews. Yesterday you liked us, today you don't like us. What happened? What do we offend you? What do we do? Why are you passing all of these laws? You're letting these criminals out of jail 2 hours after. Some of these people that made the crimes last week, they left jail the same day. The woman that beat up the Jewish girl in the subway in New York, within a couple of hours, they released her from prison. She's in the streets. This is a psychotic woman. She should be in a mental institution. If you saw the video of what she did and how she acted, this woman is psycho. She shouldn't be allowed in the streets. Shouldn't be allowed against people. Even I think the jailmates, the cellmates, were probably in danger from that woman. But she's out. She's doing whatever she wants. How could this happen? That's because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rabotai, is calling our names. He's calling our names. If we do not do tshuva, we're putting ourselves at risk. Now, what are people going to say? Say, okay, fine, I know I need to do tshuva, I know Gehenom, all that, fine, but how does that fit with the Ramban? The Ramban is saying you have to use your imagination and understand what punishment looks like in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and what it's going to look like for you after HaKadosh Baruch Hu uncovers himself to you. And he tells you what he feels about that sin you made with that girl, that sin you made with that guy, that sin you made with that thing. Now, Rabbi Simcha Zisen Mikelem says that the Gemara in Masechet Brachot says that the fire of Gehenom is 60 times more powerful than the fire that we have in this world. Now, but that is an understatement. Why? He says that the Gemara is only talking about the first level of Gehenom. The Gemara in Brachot that's talking about 60 times the fire of this Gehenom, of here. No, that's only the first level. That's only the first level. Which means that the difference between the pain of someone in this world, which is inside a physical fire, and someone in this world that's outside of fire. There's one guy, he's dancing with Friedman. He's dancing with him. He's having a good time. And another guy is burning right next to him in a real fire. He says that difference between those two, is the same as the difference in pain between somebody in a fire whose strength is the first level of Gehenom and the second level of Gehenom. Meaning that the fire of the first level, the 60 times worse than this world, that's not the most powerful. That's just the beginning stages. Second level after that, Hashem yirachem alenu. He says, you want to do tshuva? Imagine that. Imagine that. That's what Ramban says. The Ramban says, you want to do tshuva, the next time the girl comes up to you and she wants to kiss you, and you know you're not allowed because she's not your wife. The next time that boy wants to hug you, and you know you're not allowed because he's not your husband. The next time you want to do all types of things that are not allowed, Torah says not allowed, and you know you're not allowed to. Next time, all you got to do, picture what I just said. In your mind, 1 second, you're not going to sin. After that, go back to your day. That's what the Ramban says if you want. That's the tool. Tool is use your imagination of what will happen after. What will happen after? This, Rabotai, is a necessary knowledge that we have to have, because we have teachings about punishment in every aspect of our Torah. When people tell me, where is it mentioned in the Torah about Gehenom, I simply laugh at how ignorant people are. Gehenom is taught about in everything from the Chumash all the way to your Sidur. Your Sidur, every day in prayer, in Shachrit, you mention a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot by Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema, who says, Az panim legehenom, the arrogant, the brazen face, goes to Gehenom. But the bush panim, the shy, goes to Gan Eden. Ala Bukir, you just woke up, Gehenom. Why? Why do I? It's just shachrit. I'm praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I showed up to shul. Why you tell me about Gehenom? I showed just Gan Eden. No. You need to know about Gehenom even during your prayer. Why? In case you don't have kavanah. In case you're thinking about baseball instead of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In case you don't really want to be here. In case this, in case that, in case you forget that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is also outside of the Beit Knesset. The thought of reward and punishment, Rabotai Yekarim, must be in a Jewish mind at all times. But it doesn't mean you need to get depressed. It doesn't mean you need to have a mentality that always thinks about bad things. You have to understand that there's also good in the world, and there's even good in the difficulties that we experience. And that's why the Ramban says, always think of HaKadosh Baruch Hu at all times as if you are a servant in front of his master. Why a servant? Why didn't he say as a son next to his father? Why didn't he say as like a friend next to his friend? Or an employee next to his boss? Why a servant, a slave, next to his master? Because the Ramban is trying to tell us, if you want to have complete connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, don't ask for anything. You can pray for stuff, no problem. But don't ask for, if I do this, Hashem, you do this for me. Don't do things because you're going to get a reward. Serve your master because he is your master, because you have to. Don't keep Shabbat because it's going to give you more parnasah. Keep Shabbat because Hashem said so. Don't protect your bleed because you want more money now. He's going to give you more parnasah. No. Protect your bleed because you're going to go to Gehenom if you don't. Don't ask for anything. Why? Because a servant, a slave, he doesn't have any requests. What does a slave do? A slave works day and night. A slave is someone that has no free choice whatsoever, to the extent that if his master wakes him up at 3 o'clock in the morning and says, make me a coffee with 1.5 sugar, but make sure not to burn the water. What does a slave do? Yes, master. Yes, master. No, I'm tired. 3 o'clock in the morning, you slaved the whole day. Let me sleep a little bit. No. I want coffee at 3 o'clock in the morning, 1.5 sugars, but don't burn the water. Meaning, heat the water just before it boils. You have to remember this as a slave. And guess what? You're not even getting a reward for it. Here you go, master. Thank you. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to serve you at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's what we have to be. Serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu complete. And guess what? When you do, all of what you want, he starts giving you. Why? Because you're really a servant of Hashem. Now, to do such a thing, a person needs to be ashamed of their sins, ashamed of evil, ashamed of bad. First and foremost, they have to run away from sins. But sometimes, Rabotai, what happens is we hit rock bottom. We hit a difficulty. We have some type of problem. Call it what you want. A personal problem, a national problem. We have something which creates a doubt in our mind. What am I religious for if Hashem's going to give me this problem? At least 10 times a week I hear people say this to me. I'm already doing all this, and how come he's giving me all these problems? How come I don't have money? How come I don't have this? All day complaints against the Kadosh Baruch Hu. All day, as if it's going to make that better. Now, can anyone here tell me, with a legitimate seriousness, that your problems are bigger than anyone that was in the Holocaust? Does anyone have more problems than someone that went into the Holocaust? Probably not. No one's crazy enough to say yes, right? Oh, Yishtabach Shimon. Okay, so you guys are all normal. Okay. Now, the Mashgiach, Rabbi Gedalia Eisner, Alav Shalom, he was in the Holocaust. And Baruch Hashem, he survived the Holocaust. Now, surviving the Holocaust didn't mean that you were ecstatic about getting out. Many people that survived the Holocaust, when they saw and understood the destruction that they went into, that they survived, they actually wanted to die. When they went back home and they saw that there's no home, when they realized that all of their kids died, their spouse died, their parents died, everybody died that they know, when they realize they have nothing, there's no money, there's no house, there's no nothing, there's no job, there's nothing. And on top of it, they're sick. And on top of it, they don't have anywhere to go. Many people lost their mind. Shem Yachem. So surviving wasn't exactly a celebratory thing for a lot of people. Unless you were already surviving during the Holocaust, meaning you were already glued to HaKadosh Baruch Hu inside the Holocaust. So when the Mashgiach, Rav Eisner, survived the Holocaust physically, spiritually speaking, nothing changed. He was glued to Hashem the whole time. When he saw that there were some people going into a depression, or some people that were like walking dead, and worst of it all, some people becoming kufrim, going against the Torah, he spoke up. He saw a guy go against the Torah. He says, "What's with you? You used to be religious. You went to yeshiva together. What happened to you?" He goes, listen, Kvod Harav, me and Hashem, I don't know. It's not for me. Why not? Because listen, look what he put me through. I went to the Holocaust, my wife, my kids, my this, my that, everything died. I don't understand Hashem, what he does. I can't do it. He goes, so wait, who taught you this kfirah that you're saying? That you have to understand Hashem in order to serve him. Who taught you this? Who's your rabbi? Hitler? Hitler's your rabbi? Because I don't remember, we went to the same yeshiva, I don't remember any rabbi teaching me this. So you must have learned this from your rabbi, from Hitler. He says, and if you are already going to say things in the name of your rabbi Hitler, since he just died, you should say, Areni kaparat mishkavo. You know, when your rabbi dies, you're supposed to say, the first year that he's dead, like, Zichronah Livacha, Zachet Tzadik, all that stuff. So you say, Areni mishkavat zichro, which is, all of his sins, may they be on me. Why? Because you love your rabbi so much, may all of his sins be on me. He's your rabbi, he taught you this kfirah, that you need to understand Hashem in order to serve him. The guy was shocked. Rav Eisner says, let me tell you something. I'm going to give you an analogy. He says, if you step on someone while you're walking, you step on someone's foot, accident, what do? Oh, I'm sorry, oh, my bad, I'm sorry, whatever expression you have, depends where you are in the world, and I'm sorry, right? It's an accident. Accident. Somebody steps on you, even if you're like an angry gremlin type of person, And hey, watch this. Okay, you're not going to lose it. A guy says, I'm sorry, finished. But if somebody walks up to you with a bat and so, and starts beating you, and breaks the arms and the legs and hits you and hits you and hits you, and finally turns you around, he sees your face, he goes, oh no, it's the wrong guy. Oh, my bad, I'm sorry, man, I'm sorry. You going to accept his apology? Ma pitom, who's going to accept this crazy person's apology? It's not a mistake, you're sick. Something's wrong with you. What's the matter with you? What's the matter with you? Well, I'm sorry. You almost killed me. There was almost nobody to say I'm sorry to. Rav Eisner says, you see, with Hashem, there's no such thing. Where do we learn it from? He says we have a Tehillim. In Tehillim, David HaMelech gives us one of the most important lessons that a Jew must have in order to think that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is here at all times, watching everything, caring about everything, and I want him to. In Tehillim number 92, which you actually say in your prayer every day, it says in Tehillim number 92, verse 14, 15, and 16, it says, planted in the house of Hashem is the courtyards of our God, they will flourish. Meaning the people that learn His Torah, the people that are in the yeshivot and the bet midrash, those are the people that will flourish. They will still be fruitful in old age, vigorous and fresh they will be, to declare Hashem is just, my rock in whom there is no wrong. Ki yashar Adonai tzuri velo avlata bo. So David HaMelech says these tzaddikim that learn Torah day and night, they're going to flourish, they're going to get great. And what's the climax? The end of the Tehillim, the climax of all of these blessings, these tzaddikim that learn Torah day and night, these amazing people, they're going to get to such a high level that they're going to praise Hashem with the highest form of praise you can possibly have. What is this praise? Hashem doesn't make mistakes. He's yashar, he's straight, he doesn't make mistakes. Now between you and I, since when do you give somebody a compliment about what they don't do? Like, oh yeah, I have such a good wife, she doesn't cheat on me. That's a compliment? Oh, my husband is great. He doesn't cheat on me. He doesn't beat me. He's a fantastic husband. He never beat me once. I accept that. Oh, no, but he's a good husband though. He's good. Like, what kind of compliment is that? Hashem is so magnificent, so glorious, and he's coming from the tzaddikim. Hashem is so glorious, he's a yashar, he's straight, he doesn't make mistakes. What kind of compliment is this? Rav Eisner says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is so straight, he's so glorious, he's so just, that to him, there is no such thing as a small mistake or a big mistake. There is no such thing as I stepped on your foot mistake, or I hit you and I thought you were the wrong guy. To him, everything is the same. Which means, Rabotai Yekarim, that whether a person has a toothache, a headache, a financial loss, or chas v'shalom, a Holocaust, they have the same exact question. Where did it come from? Hashem. All of us come from Hashem. Everything comes from Hashem. The toothache is from Hashem. Which means that if you're asking why you got this, why you got the toothache, why you got the foot ache, the headache, the financial loss, the divorce, the kids off the derech, the Holocaust, the Inquisition, all of that, it's all the same questions. Why? It's the same exact source. Hashem doesn't have a difference as far as big event, small event, big punishment, small punishment. It's all the same for him. It's all identical. It's all exactly the same. There is no such thing as a bigger error. There is no error. Hashem is so just, He's so glorious, He's incapable of making a mistake. Incapable. Now, when we ask, where was Hashem during the Holocaust? When we ask, where was Hashem last week when Jews were being murdered? When we ask all of these questions, that's the mistake that we're making. We're thinking that there's even a possibility that this punishment or reward or whatever happened in the world could have come from somewhere else or could have been a mistake. But yet, if we actually understand our Tehillim, what David HaMelech is telling us here is that there is no such thing as a mistake. Hashem doesn't step on your foot and say, oh, I'm sorry. There's no such thing as Hashem gives a person cancer. Oh, no, you're the wrong guy. No, it's the same thing. It is no such thing as a mistake when HaKadosh Baruch Hu is involved. But that also means if HaKadosh Baruch Hu said in the Torah, a mechalel Shabbat, mot yumat, he's going to die. And on top of it, he's going to go to Gehenom forever if he doesn't do Teshuva. That also means he didn't make a mistake. He's not going to change the Torah 3,000 years later. If he said it 3,000 years ago, that means it's relevant today. If he said you're not allowed to waste seed 3,000 years ago, that means it's still relevant today. If he said you have to be modest 3,000 years ago, that means it's relevant today. There is no such thing as change when it comes to Hashem. And that's why one of the 13 principles of faith, Rabotai, is that the Torah will never change because Hashem doesn't change. There's no such thing as today it's different. There's no such thing as today it's different. Oh, in that generation, there's no such thing as that generation. The same Torah we've had 3,000 years ago is a Torah that's applicable today. Same thing. Now, Rav Eisner says to the Kofel, he says, you know what your mistake is? Your mistake is that you're trying to understand Hashem like a human being. Even though Hashem says, Machshevotai lo machshevotechem. My thoughts are not like your thoughts. I don't rationalize things like you do. I don't think like you do. You're incapable of understanding the whole picture. But when you try to understand the whole picture, you know what your flaw is? Your entire self, even if you're the biggest genius in the world, the most you could actually analyze is what's in front of you and possibly what's one step removed. That's it. Whereas Hashem sees everything from the beginning of time to the end of time, all at the same time. Something that's even incapable for us to understand. Now, Rav Eisner gives him an example. He says, let's see. You like coffee? I like coffee. You make coffee? Okay, so let's make coffee. What do you do to make coffee? You get hot water. You got nice hot water. Used to be, sweet water. Okay. What do? You take this brown powder and puts it in. And one of the guys that doesn't know what coffee is says, what are you doing, you idiot? You just ruined the water. The water was perfectly tasty. You put bitter coffee in it. What's the matter with you? Now it's black and ugly. You say, hold on a second. Hold on. I'm going to put sugar in it. What? Sugar, this white stuff. You're going to put in the sugar? Why? It was bitter. Didn't you want it bitter? He goes, no, now I'm going to put sugar in it. He goes, why? So why'd you bother putting the bitter coffee if you're going to put sugar in it too? So you put the sugar in. Okay, fine. What are you doing now? Whoa, hey, what are you doing? Why are you going to the fridge? I got to get milk. Milk. Why are you going to get milk? It's going to ruin it. You take the milk, you put it in. He goes, you just turned the whole thing brownish, whitish. What's the matter with you? If you wanted it white, just drink the milk. Why'd you put it in the coffee? He goes, listen, I want Nescafe. Leave me alone. The guy that's watching you, why are you not paying attention to him? Why are you not paying attention to him? He's your friend, he's your buddy, he's your son, he's your daughter, he's your something. Why not? Because all he's doing is analyzing the picture that's in front of him. He looks at water, he thinks, okay, that's all that exists. He looks at the suffering that exists now, the good that exists now, whatever that exists now, and he thinks that's it. He thinks, oh, good times, water, it's good, it's clear, it's great. And then this black shows up. It's like, oh, this depression is never going to end. There's bad times. I'm unemployed. I don't have any money. I'm alone. I'm this. I'm sick. Okay, buddy, it's not going to be like this forever. Once in a while, Hashem sends you some sugar. Gives you a little bit of a job, this, that. Oh, okay, so it's going to get better? Yeah. But all of a sudden it becomes fantastic. Now it's, wow, the whole thing is finished. Now the whole coffee's finished. You have the milk in there too. The problem is, Rabotai, that we try to look at our life with our own eyes, but thinking that we're God. We analyze our life in a way that we think that we know what's going on and what's going to happen. And that's the reason why people get so anxious. That's why people get so depressed. And that's why people make such big mistakes. Because they think that whatever is happening is permanent. Guy makes a lot of money, he starts spending all of it like it's going out of style. Like it's going to be expired. Because he's assuming he's always going to make a lot of money. Little does he know that 6 months later he's not going to have even a bathroom to pee in. But he spends the money because he's assuming he's always going to make $100,000 a month. Then a young woman gets sick, gets depressed. Oh, I can't believe it. I've been sick all these years. I'm always going to be sick. I want to die. She'll say all types of stupid things that people say. Why? Because they assume they're always going to be sick. They're always going to be alone. They're always going to be depressed. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no, this is just the black part of the coffee. It's the bitter part. If you analyze the coffee by that step, of course it's going to look terrible. Just have some patience. Have some patience. Every step of the coffee doesn't make any sense. But Rabbi Yaron says that's just like our life. You see, Rabotai, in the beginning, you have the water and you make it hot. But then, in the end, you bring cold milk. Opposite. In the beginning, you have the water that's clear, but then you bring the coffee that's dark. In the beginning, you put the coffee that's bitter, but then you put the sugar to make it sweet. Every single step of the coffee is like a step of our life. The job of a kosher Jew is to know that no matter if your day, your week, or your year is dark or light, sweet or bitter, beginning or end, no matter what, you still do the same blessing, she'akol niya midvaro. That everything is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is the lesson that Rav Eisner told a Holocaust survivor that made him do tshuva. Made the person do tshuva on the spot. Why? Because he knew that I can't ask questions about Hashem and understanding Him only about the bad. Because there's also good. There's also before. There's also after. A person must understand that in order for us to get close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu like we're supposed to, we must know that everything is from Him. Everything is from Him, even if we don't understand it. In fact, especially when we don't understand it. In last week, so 2 weeks ago's parasha, we saw that Yosef HaTzadik made a huge mitzvah. What was the mitzvah? Mitzvah is Yosef was a slave in a very important Egyptian's house, Potiphar. And his wife was one of the most beautiful women in history. And not only is she beautiful, not only is she powerful, but she likes him too. And she says to him, come Yosef, I'll be your new girlfriend. Yosef says no, he overcomes a test that none of us could even dream about overcoming. What does he get in return? Jail for 10 years. That's what he gets. Now you can say, no, but in the end, forget the end. What does he get immediately after he overcomes a test that no human being on earth before or after can overcome? If there was some, it would be written about them. What does he get? He goes to jail for 10 years. Ends up being 12 because of his own mistake. But nonetheless, what does he get for overcoming the greatest thing that everyone's ever done? Jail. That's what he gets. So from the looks of it, it looks like black coffee. It looks black. It looks terrible. It looks awful. Why? Hey, listen, I just did a big mitzvah. You're sending me to jail, Hashem? No, come on. I gotta. Where's the complaints department? Where can I send an email with a complaint? I just passed a big test. You're sending me to jail. You're supposed to send me to Gan Eden. You're supposed to send me to, I don't know, to some beach or something, resort. At the very least, give me a vacation. What are you sending me to some hole in the wall? Now you're going to say, but in the end it worked out. What you don't understand is what happened in between. You see, Egypt had a law. They were a very organized country, similar to the Nazis, Yimach Shimam. And everything was structured, everything was based on a law. And they had certain things that a king must know in order to be king. If you were to be king, you have to know the most amount of languages. You have to have a certain amount of information of how to run a country. You have to have a certain amount of knowledge about finance, certain amount of knowledge about war, certain amount of knowledge about all these different things. Pretty much you had to be the biggest Talmid Chacham, La'avdil, in the whole country. Yosef was a young kid. How is he going to become the biggest Talmid Chacham in Egyptian law? He just moved here and he's in jail. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said what? You know what, Yosef? I'm going to do you a favor. What did you do? You made a big mitzvah. You passed the test. I'm going to do you a big favor. I'm going to make you king. But now you can't be king now. Why? Because you don't know the information. So I'm going to send you 2 private tutors. 2 private tutors that are going to teach you in jail for 10 years straight for free. Who are these tutors, Rabotai? The chamberlain of the cupbearers and the chamberlain of bakers. These people worked in government. These people were the personal servants for Paro. They're in jail with him. What are they doing for 10 years, the Chachamim say? They're talking to him and teaching him about all the laws, all of the logistics, all of the things they did, all of the things the king does for 10 years. So when the blessing finally arrives, when the white milk shows up, and you got your Nescafe, you're ready for it. Why? Because it also has some sugar in it too. You're ready for it. When Paro says, oh, you're the smartest among us, you should be the viceroy, not a single person says, Your Highness, he doesn't know anything. How are you going to make him a viceroy? No, what do? They start celebrating Yosef and saying, Avrech, Avrech. They call him Avrech in the streets. Everyone wants him to be king. Why? He really knows everything, including their laws. So while it looked dark, while it looked awful, while it looked bitter, that's only to someone that's analyzing that step. If you look at your life at that moment, whether it's a good one or a bad one, you're mistaken. Why? You have to look at things as a whole picture. The only way we can do that, Rabotai, is if we say, just like the Shulchan Aruch starts with, Shiviti Hashem Lanegdi Tamid. Hashem is here. He's here in the good, He's here in the bad, He's here when there's good things, He's here when there's bad things, He's here when Am Yisrael is favored by the nations, He's here when Am Yisrael is not favored by the nations. Which means that whatever is happening in the world, that's not a change in Hashem. Hashem doesn't change. To Him, there's no big or small mistakes. There's no mistakes at all. It's a different way that Hashem is communicating to us. If there are good things happening to Klal Yisrael, good. If there are bad things happening to Klal Yisrael, no good. What should change? Not Hashem, our behavior. If there's good things happening in your life, good. If there's bad things happening in your life, not good. What should change? Your behavior. But how do you change only when there's bad things? The secret is you don't. You don't just change when there's bad things. You do what Yosef HaTzadik did. You change when there's good things too. Why? To prepare for the bad. When he told Paro, you're going to have 7 years of good economy. During those 7 years, save up, change everything, change all of your policies to prepare for that bad day that's coming. Paro says, you do it. I don't know how to do that stuff. You do it. So what did Yosef do? What was the genius of Yosef? Yosef had a system of how to preserve all of the food forever. And no one else was able to do it. So during a time they had a surplus, they had a lot of extras, Yosef was putting all the extras, instead of spoiling it, spending it, wasting it, what did he do? He put it in different reserves. So when times were bad, he was the only one prepared in the entire world. So the entire world, from all 4 corners of the world, people came to Egypt because they knew that Egypt is the only place that has food thanks to Yosef. Why? Because he prepared during the good times. He didn't wait for bad times in order to change. That's one of the other things we learned from Yosef Rabotai. Don't wait for bad times to do tshuva. Do tshuva when there's good times too. If it's bad times, it's needless to say you have to do tshuva. If it's bad times, it's needless to say you have to change your actions. Because the fact that you're in bad times obviously shows that what happened yesterday wasn't good enough. That's what the Ramban is telling us in his letter, that if you first and foremost realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching you at all times and use your imagination to serve Him, you will not only succeed in staying away from sin because you're afraid of the visuals that we discussed today, the Gehinom and the punishment, but even more so, you'll be able to use your imagination to understand that whatever you're seeing in the world, whether it's good or bad, it's only a step in the grand scheme of things. It's only the white or the black or the sugar or the water part of the coffee. And no matter what it is, we still always say the same blessing, Shakol niya midvaro, that everything is from Him. This, Rabotai, is one of the most critical lessons that we can learn, especially now when things don't look so good for our nation, and sometimes many of us personally. Everything is from Him. We use that, apply it, and Be'ezrat Hashem, teach it to all of Klal Yisrael, so we can end the trouble, end the suffering, and Be'ezrat Hashem, bring salvation to the nation. Baruch Adonai Leolam, Amen ve'amen.